Thank you for joining us for another episode of Behind the Mic, powered by Revolt Podcast Network. I'm your host, Wise Grisette, RPN Community Manager and Podcast Enthusiast. You all can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at The Real Wise. I do have to ask you all for a favor. Please subscribe to Behind the Mic wherever you listen to your podcast. Give us a 5-star rating. We really, really, really would appreciate it. So, on today's episode, I'm joined by Mokgethwa, aka Big Warra, on the Sobering Podcast. So, Big Warra, welcome to Behind the Mic.
Thank you so much, Wes. Thank you so much. It's quite a privilege to be here. Yeah, man.
Real quick, tell the audience a little bit about yourself and the podcast that you're a part of.
Oh, cool. Real name, Mokgethwa, otherwise known as Big Warra, aka Blimbao Chicken Charmaine, and a whole bunch of other AKAs. That's me. That's what I do. That's what I go by. Yeah, I'm part of the Sobering Podcast, one of South Africa's longest running hip-hop podcasts. We turned 10 this year. So yeah, that's just, what we do.
Man, and y'all have been killing it for the 10 years. I've been a part of your journey for probably 8 or 9 of them. And when I tell you, like, I'm just so proud. And I tell you this, I feel like I've said this like at least like every year for the past 2 years, but y'all, I am so proud of y'all, and I'm so proud of you, because you honestly were the first person on the Sobering that I actually spoke to, you know, when we were trying to figure out like how we can help you all out with Indie Creative Network. And, you know, now we're together here at Revolt Podcast Network. So yes, it's truly a journey, and I'm just happy and proud to be a part of it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you came in quite early. I mean, like, you, one of the first believers in us, you know, like from starting out in, I think, 2015. Yeah, 2015, where like it was even hard to get guests onto the show. We didn't even have video at that time, but then you came on and like, yo, guys, there's this creative network that I'd love for you to be part of. And it was like, okay, cool. Maybe we should keep going. And so we did. And then 10 years, going into 10 years, there's been a lot of like brand collaborations, events, merch, you know, there's a lot that we've done in this 10 years. And and we keep going, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure. So before we get too deep into the pod, let's talk about some tunes real quick. We have this playlist on Spotify called B-Sides Track of the Week, where you can find all of your guests' favorite songs anytime. Now, B-side tracks to me are songs that aren't really that popular, but are just as good or better than A-side songs. So, Big Warra, let me know what B-side track you want to share with us today and why.
It's a song that I just started liking. Here it is. It's Eyeball, letter I, space Bore, and it's by Onipa. I don't know where this artist is from, but it's from somewhere on the continent. I'm assuming Ghana. But yeah, it's a song that I've just been playing over and over. You know, I used it on my reels a couple of times on social, but it's just like that go-to song for me. Yeah, that's my jam right now.
Okay, and again, you all can find that exclusively on Spotify. The playlist is called B-Sides Track of the Week, so just search for it. The playlist is starting to really like build its body out, and it actually is a good listen. So yes, tap into that one. Now, I know quite a bit about you in front of the mic, you know, but let's talk about the person behind the mic. So first off, for those that don't know, you're based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
Yes, sir.
The podcast focuses primarily on South African rappers, right?
Yeah.
But there's a backstory behind that. Like there's just the interest level, you know, from me listening to the podcast, I've heard you talk. So I want to even just say like eloquently, so like knowledgeable, so passionate about like music, about, you know, about clothing and style. So yeah, talk to me about who you are, man, and your interests.
Yeah, like you said, I'm based in Johannesburg, not originally from here. Been here for about 15 years now. Yeah, I lived in Cape Town and Pretoria as well before that, but I'm originally from a place called Limpopo. So it's almost like it's not one of the popping cities in the country. So when I was growing up, I had to search for a lot of music on my own, you know. So that's where movies and series came in. Like, you know, when the credits roll and then you hear that song, you're like, fuck, what is this song? How can I get it? And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. they give the names, and you write it down one day, hoping to stumble upon it. And then, luckily for us, as time went by, we had the internet, so we could search for songs and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
And then magazines were another big part of my upbringing. Like there's a local magazine called Hat Magazine, which we were on the cover of. And then
Sure
also,
was.
yeah, we're lucky enough to get the Source and Double XL in the country as well. So that also played a big role. And then some other magazines, local magazines, are Y Mag, which was by YFM, a radio station,
Mm-hmm.
youth radio station.
Mm-hmm.
And then SL, which was like Student Life. And sort of all those things just sort of like broadened my view on like style and music and all those things, like an art, even influencing what I do on a daily basis as a 9 to 5 as a copywriter. So I'm in advertising, so that's what I do, like 9 to 5, and then the
Mm-hmm.
podcast as well. So yeah, it's just been an influence of like searching, like always continuously like searching for things. Like, okay, cool, there's this. What's next? There must be more. There must be better. There must be worse. You gotta go both ways, up and down. I mean, sideways, try to find as much as possible. And then later in life, when I met Kito for a couple of years, and
Mm-hmm.
then eventually it's like, yo, man, it's so hard to find interviews, in-depth interviews, for local rap artists. Like, it's the documentation was scattered
Mm-hmm.
through various media points, which were like they wouldn't give like a whole slot. It will just be like bits and pieces everywhere. Like, okay, cool. We're gonna create this platform where it'll be solely for just for South African hip hop. People can come,
Mm-hmm.
which I mean, tell us about their journeys like they haven't anywhere else. And then lucky for us as well, we're like scholars of the game. Like we love it. We continue to research, we continue to listen to music. It's just not giving up your, I want to say, that novice mindset. It doesn't matter
Mm-hmm.
how far you've been in this thing, but just like but you don't know everything, you don't know enough. Just wake up and find something more. And yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is curiosity,
Mhm.
led you to start learning more about things. People hear a song and be like, oh, okay, that was a cool song, whatever, but they're not checking the credits to try
Yeah.
and track it down. Like
Mhm.
they're not going to magazines and reading that page that has everybody's name and what they do and stuff like that, and you obviously took that and ran with it, right? So you say
Yeah.
you eventually met Kitso, right? So tell me about meeting Kitso and how you all start. I know how you started a podcast. Obviously, like you recognize that there was a gap, right? But like, what was that conversation like with Kitso, having to explain to him or just like identify to him like, yo, we could do this and it could be a podcast, which in 2015 was still very new.
Yeah. So how that happened is that, so I used to work for this events company in downtown Joburg. So we do these gigs, and then with we just communicate and stuff, talk about music, and then we ended up switching emails. And then there was an email thread with like four of us on there, but Kitso and I were the most active on the thread, just sharing new music. It's bad. We were bootlegging. It's before streaming,
Mm-hmm.
it's before Spotify. So whoever had the album downloaded already, they would share with the others. And then yeah,
Nice.
eventually after that, but the real connection to Kitso and Gabriel was that, I don't know if you know, that they were a duo called Fred Pack.
Yes, I did know that.
Yeah. So I did a review on one of their mixtapes for the Cool Out website. Then I met Gabriel. I was like, yo, I'm the one who did the review. He's like, oh, boom. And then cool, he introduced me to Kito, ended up, getting much closer with Kito, you know. And then, yeah, one day I'd written down this whole page of like, how do we do this intro? Talk for five, like a radio show. Then we
Yeah.
got to the studio. Kids was like, hey, man, fuck that shit, man. Let's just go in and talk, you know? And then, yeah, from then, that was the Sobering podcast. Yeah, we started on SoundCloud. And then, yeah, eventually, when he came on, he helped us go into other platforms as well. And then Kabalo kept, we'll hang out all together because we had a sneaker show together called the Food Lock where we'd review shoes and stuff. So one day Kabalo just like, let me just come with y'all to the studio. And then he came and then, he joined and then came back again. And then, the rest is as you know it.
History. Yes. Okay, so the conversation is going to turn a little bit. There's a show on Netflix called Young, Famous, and African. Young, Famous, and African is very popular in the States now, like very, very popular. And I know about the artist, AKA, through you, right? But many people know about AKA through the show. So can you talk about just like the impact that AKA had in his life and what it meant for South African hip hop to have somebody of that caliber just like running things?
Yeah, man. You know, AKA was a star before he was a star. He always carried himself like one. Like, he never took himself like as a small fry. Like he always went for it. I feel like in terms of like superstars, I mean, we do have superstars now, Casper is one, but AKA was that, and it was quite South African in his interpretation of hip hop, from his samples and everything. He's never like wavered or switched on that. Like there's a whole sound. I mean, rest in peace to him. Even after he's gone, there's a whole sound that's become very hard to remake or even few people doing it, but he was quite intentional with that. He would sample South African grades. He would tap into songs that impacted us before. And yeah, man, he was a student of the culture. As hip hop, he really liked hip hop. He really loved it. Like he went all the way. Like even just from the little that I've interacted with him, like just those chats when you go head to head with him, you can tell like, okay, cool. There's a deeper understanding of this thing, and you then see it better with the music, like you get an understanding of, okay, cool, I see his point of references and whatnot. He was this kind of a legend.
Yeah, no. So for those that are not familiar, go on Google, type in AKA rapper and get some knowledge on that. On the other side of this break, we're kicking into overdrive with our rapid fire game right after this. And we're back, y'all. Thanks for sticking around. Now we're kicking it into overdrive with the rapid fire round of word association. Okay, so Big Warra, are you ready for this rapid fire game?
Yeah, hit me.
All right, starting in 3, 2, 1. Boom bap.
90s.
Vinyl.
Jazz.
Trap.
Migos.
Future.
Hendrix.
Mixtape.
I say 90s again.
Auto-tune.
T-Pain.
Cipher.
Oh, Gandhi Square.
All right, we're done. Wow,
cool.
We're done. Shout out to Black Music Month. We want to make sure that we tapped into some Black music things. I didn't even mean to say Future. It's crazy because like I saw the word mixtape and I was like, all I kept thinking of was Future. So I just said it out loud.
Yeah, I feel like I said those songs. Said Future, said Hendrix. So,
okay. All right. So before we end the episode, man, like what's one thing you want people to know about you that they wouldn't get from listening to the Sobering podcast?
I love almost everything. I love a lot of things. I love a lot. I may come off as somebody who doesn't like certain things. I just don't take bullshit. I mean, I call a spade a spade, but I love a lot of things. I'm into a lot of things. I go to a lot of places. I'm not as stiff as I appear.
I don't think you've ever appeared stiff to me. I've seen some stiff people. You are not that. You are not that. Okay, so before we leave, right, please let the audience know where they can find you on socials and wherever you like to connect with them.
Just on Instagram and X as well. X. Funny, I called it X off the bat. I usually say Twitter, but yeah. On X is at @big_Warra on both X and Instagram. Yeah, otherwise follow the Sobering Podcast, the Sobering Pod on both X and Instagram. Yeah. That's where
All
I'm at.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Warra is WARRA for those that are not familiar.
Yeah. Oh, that's how people usually do it. Also spelling it out.
You good. All right, y'all. And that is another episode of Behind the Mic, powered by Revolt Podcast Network. Big Warra, thank you so much for joining again.
Salute.
I'm your host, Wise Grisette. You all can find me at The Real Wise, that's WIZE, on Instagram and Twitter, formerly known as X. I'm internationally known on a microphone as Wiz, Wizzy, and Wise, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Behind the Mic, powered by Revolt Podcast Network, is hosted by me, Wise Grisette. Special thanks to the Indie Creative Network and Storytime Studios for editing and producing this podcast.